At 6:00 p.m. All right, can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Cooley?
Here.
Commissioner Tinker?
Here.
Commissioner Stevens stated he would be absent this evening. Chairman Smith?
Here. All right, do we have any requests for excused absences? You mentioned, Stevens did mention he was going to be all right.
Stevens.
Okay. Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda at this time?
No adjustments.
Do we have any conflicts of interest to disclose? Nope. All right, with that, we'll move to the.
Wait a minute, you don't have any conflict?
I haven't for a long time now.
Whoa, okay, we're good.
All right, we will move to the public comment period for items not on the agenda. Any one person may address the committee on a matter not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment card provided at the back table and give it to the committee chair or secretary. There is a 3-minute limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the committee from discussing or talking about any actions brought up by your comments. Do you have any requests to speak at this time?
Not for this portion.
All right, moving on to item C1, approval of the minutes. Any comments on the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All right, with motion and a second, roll call, please.
Commissioner Cooley?
Yes.
Commissioner Tinker?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. All right, moving on to item C2. Lost my place, there we go. Plot plan PP 2022-0427 and tentative parcel map number 38233. Environmental ENV 2022-0021, known as the Xenia Apartments, located near the southeast corner of 8th and Xenia.
I think that's a different agenda. That's from our meeting on Monday.
That's what?
That's from our meeting on Monday. Do you want me to grab you a?
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I probably should be here sometime tonight, but I'm sorry.
No worries,
I was looking at this one.
no worries. So with that, staff report, please.
Don't confuse me with facts.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Carol Kendrick, Planning Staff, presenting this item. On February 2nd, 2022, Planning received an application for a plot plan, a tentative parcel map, and an environmental review for a proposed 192-unit multifamily residential project. This application was submitted by an applicant and is not a city-sponsored project. The item was advertised on September 13th for the 30-day CEQA public review period, which included this Planning Commission hearing date as well as the November 7th City Council meeting date. We did place that notice in the press enterprise and notified property owners within 300 feet of this hearing. Staff has not received any phone calls or written comments from the public regarding the proposed project. However, staff received 4 comments letters during the CEQA review period, and I'll go into that a little bit further in the presentation. The municipal code does allow multifamily residential projects in the downtown residential multifamily zone subject to a plot plan. The property is zoned downtown residential multifamily and has a current general plan land use designation of downtown mixed use. Property is surrounded by the DMF zone to the north, east, and west, with property to the south as 6th Street mixed use. And all of the property around it has a general plan land use designation of downtown mixed use. The properties surrounding the subject site include Do It Best and vacant land to the south, Tuscany Villas to the east, Noble Creek Apartments to the west, and single-family residences to the north. Site is 10.93 acres and consists of 7 parcels. It's currently vacant and unimproved with the exception of existing curb and overhead power lines on Xenia Avenue. The project is concurrently processing a tentative parcel map to merge the parcels. The project does include 16 two-story apartment buildings totaling 192 units. It has one one-story community building, a pool and recreation area, a dog park, an outdoor fitness area, water quality basins, and other associated improvements. The proposed project will be gated and will be constructed in one phase. It is proposing a modern style of architecture with varied roof lines and building planes to create visual interest. The front elevations of the apartment buildings have 9 planes, and the sides have between 7 and 8. And the height is varied with a range from a little bit over 25 feet to almost 30 feet. Project as proposed is required to provide a minimum of 336 parking spaces, of which 128 are required to be covered. The applicant is proposing 408 parking spaces, with 128 of them being carports. The project as proposed will provide 2 full unsignalized gated driveways, with one located on Xenia Avenue and the other located on 8th Street in the eastern portion of the site. Project is also required to pay TUNF mitigation fees, development impact fees, and/or fair share fees consistent with the city's requirements. As I mentioned, the 2 driveways, they will be full access and unsignaled. And the 8th Street driveway is 25 feet in width with 12 feet of landscaping on both sides. The parking fields are located on the northern project boundary and on a portion of the southeastern boundary adjacent to the 8-foot landscaping buffers. Additional parking is provided throughout the site, and carports are situated in several areas of the project site. This proposal includes providing sewer to the site as well as providing the opportunity for the single-family residences on 8th Street to connect to sewer if they choose to do so. The applicant did conduct a neighborhood meeting on December 14th of 2022. They had 5 residents that attended and 1 that provided a letter. The main topic of discussion was the ability for these residences to connect to sewer. The letter did include some comments about drainage, surveying, and 2 existing trees on site. The project includes I already went over that. The minimum usable open space requirement for multifamily residential projects in the downtown residential multifamily zone is 200 square feet per unit in projects with more than 20 units. The total open space requirement for the project is 38,000 square feet, and the project is proposing 13,824 square feet for private open space in the form of patios and balconies. The common open space provides 27,397 square feet of area for combined open space for a total of a little over 41,000 square feet. I briefly mentioned the open space amenities in the beginning of the presentation. The proposed development is consistent with General Plan Policy 3.3.1 that supports the development of new housing opportunities as defined by the land use element in the general plan, and Policy 3.3.2 to develop a variety of housing types at varying densities that meet the needs of the residents of a variety of incomes, lifestyles, and needs. Due to the scope of the project, a draft initial study and mitigated negative declaration were prepared and circulated for a 30-day public review period between September 13th and October 13th of this year. As I mentioned, we received 4 comment letters. Agua Caliente requested a tribal monitor during ground disturbing activities. Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District and the Riverside Transit Authority provided a no comment email. And Mr. Blair Ball provided an email inquiring about sewer connections for the existing single-family residential lots on 8th Street. The mitigation measures that are in the mitigated negative declaration are provided as conditions 130 through 137. So at this time, staff would like to recommend that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing and that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council to adopt the mitigated negative declaration and reporting program for ENV 2022-0021 and approve plot plan 2022-0427 and PM 2022-0010 for tentative parcel map 38233, subject to the proposed conditions of approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and we do have the applicant in the audience as well.
All right, thank you. Questions for staff? Commissioner Cooley?
None.
I do.
Commissioner Tinker?
Are we gonna continue the sewer line all the way to the project? Well, right now, Xenia, I don't believe it's the sewer line is there.
There is an existing sewer line in Xenia that
Oh, there
runs up,
is?
yeah. And they're tying into it right at their southerly boundary.
Okay, my impression in the past was we didn't get that far. So the sewer line is there.
Yeah, in Sixth Street, there's,
Your mic, Commissioner Tinker?
Well, okay. Picky.
Sixth Street, west of Xenia, is limited sewer. There was a project that recently installed, I think, 200 linear feet beyond this intersection, west. But beyond that, there is no sewer.
Okay, because I remember back when they were doing it, one of the problems they had, and I was involved with the Elks Lodge, there was no sewer there because the Elk's still on his own septic. So, but there's sewer line to service this project.
Yeah, there's sewer line in Xenia on the frontage of this project.
Okay, and my other question is this project in line with our housing element?
Yes, it is.
Okay, some of the questions I had.
All right. So kind of following up on the sewer, where we talk about providing for access for the existing homes on 8th, is it intended that they would connect to the on-site sewer within this project, or are they building sewer main in 8th Street itself?
Yeah, the applicant is here. I'd like him, if he's available, to discuss that a little bit. But the city did request an additional sewer line on their northerly traveled way to allow the properties to the north to connect.
Okay. So we'll have the applicant speak when we open the public hearing.
Oh, sure.
And we'll answer some of those questions at that point. Since we're widening Xenia on the property frontage there, is that going to be a requirement that they improve up to the intersection at 8th Street, or is it going to narrow back down?
Yeah, unfortunately, it'll have to taper back down. Staff looked at having this project widen it, but there is no nexus, and there's additional power poles in the way that would be a significant burden to this development.
Okay. And then I know that there's parking across the street for the other facility. This one's going to be gated as well. Is there adequate room on Xenia for parking on both sides, or do we need to consider striping one side of this road as no parking or signing it as no parking? I guess that's, if we don't know, that's a question we can evaluate, I guess, at final engineering, so.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't, you're saying that there is adequate parking on the east side, but
I
not
don't know if it's
necessarily-
adequate, but parking does happen on the east side. So, and I know that I'm traveling south, I'm able to continue through. But school time, I've been there to kind of, my wife teaches in that area, and trying to drive through there after school can be interesting. Just want to make sure the traffic is still able to flow if there's residents who could be parking along that side of the street, or if that's something that we would need to consider establishing a no parking zone.
Planning doesn't have any opposition to that, but they are over parking the site.
I did see
So,
that.
yeah, so I'm really hoping that they'll utilize their parking on site.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
I was thinking more it's just the random guests or something like that don't key in at the entry. And then one thing I noticed is we have fire turn, and it looks like trash probably turn templates throughout here, but the far east corner, there's a 90-degree turn on that. Is that something that fire is going to be okay with if they're limited to kind of the one way in, or is that something we need to look at, some kind of radius there?
On the 8th Street
On
access?
the 8th Street access.
Actually, the fire department they're asking for a little bit of a redesign on that, but that's accomplished in the conditions of approval, excuse me.
Okay, so that is being considered.
Yes.
Okay. And then 8th Street looks like it's ultimate improvements being pushed out just along the frontage and tapered back.
Yes.
And then the recreation area, that's a question for the applicant, I'll ask him when we go there. Okay. Any other questions for staff? So with none, we'll open the public hearing at 6:16. The applicant, if you can introduce yourself.
Right here? Is that it? Okay, right. Good evening, Chairman Smith and fellow planning commissioners. My name is Paul Onifer, the applicant for this project. We've been working with staff for quite some time, and they've been fantastic to work with. We agree with all the conditions of approval for the project and happy to answer any questions you may have.
So there's a question on the sewer and potential access for the homes along 8th Street. You know, what's the consideration on the project?
So as Robert indicated, we're putting a sewer line on the north end of our property. We're going to provide sewer laterals to the 8 or so homes that can sewer properly. There's a few homes on the east side that hydraulically don't work. So we can't provide any laterals to them. We would if we could make it work, but we don't want our sewer going into their house, so we'll provide the
Usually a
lateral.
good idea.
Yeah, that would be bad. So we'll provide the lateral to their PL and their rear PL, and then the homeowner will be responsible for making the connection and paying the sewer connection fees.
So is that easement then, is that gonna be a public sewer through there, or is it gonna be private connections, or is that something that's still being discussed?
Yeah, the sewer will be public within the facility, the apartment facility. Obviously, the laterals will be private.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant?
I do.
Yes.
And I didn't see it, maybe because I didn't read it right. Is there a percentage of this that's gonna be low income and moderate income for this facility?
This project is planned for market rate apartments. No, the answer would be no.
So it's not low income or moderate income?
No, it's market rate.
Okay.
And looking at the site plan, it appears that it splits 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 between 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, generally,
It's 1 and 2 bedroom units.
1 and 2 bedroom. Did I read that wrong?
But it's a third. So there's the 1 bedroom, 774 square feet, and then there's 2 floor plans for the 2 bedroom.
Oh, okay.
I have a question for staff. Let me ask staff, now, if we're going to market rate, are we in compliance with? I'm trying to be politically correct here. Are we in compliance with the latest state laws to where we have to provide for low income, moderate income?
Mr. Tinker, I'm sorry. We're not getting any audio from you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I guess what I'm getting at is I know that, and I don't have a problem with the project, but when, we keep getting hammered by the state about low income and moderate income housing. Where are we at with this?
Yeah. So even though these are market rate units, they still will help with our RENA because the dollar amount that's charged per unit, we have a range that it fits in. So even if it's not deed restricted as a low income or as a moderate income, if the rent range fits within the category that's established that they adjust every year, sometimes twice a year, we still get to put credit towards our RENA numbers if it fits in those thresholds.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be deed restricted. It also does show that we're making progress towards that middle housing that we lack right now. And so the state looks favorably upon that. This property is zoned for this type of housing, and it was included in our housing element update that was just certified by the state in December of last year.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
For the outdoor fitness amenity, the conditions indicated that there was gonna be walls east, west, and north, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, that's a condition that staff added.
So, as that's kind of an alley kind of between those homes, is there some lighting or, some way to protect those homeowners from, a dark corner, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, we could provide lighting, whether it's, some solar type lighting or something like that.
Ground level pedestrian type, so it's
Yeah.
not,
If it's
Okay.
not in the conditions, we can certainly agree to that.
And we did ask, that area was not included on the landscape plan with landscaping, so we did put a condition in for that. So we want to make sure that we're protecting the adjacent homes
right.
so that they can enjoy the privacy in their home. But, yeah, we can certainly add a condition for lighting in that area.
Can we not get into the same problem that we have over on Highland Springs? So where the height of the lighting is affecting the homeowners, you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
So we need to make sure the condition of that is the height of the lighting, as we've dealt with that problem over on the commercial buildings reflected in the back of the homes. We have to condition that so that that does not affect the residents.
Right, I'm thinking kind of like the bollard-looking light standards that are,
Pathway lights.
yeah,
of,
like
Exactly.
waist high, and they have, a little
Okay.
light around the
Yeah.
top. But I'll start working on crafting a condition for that it won't be, the lighting can't be any higher than the height of the wall.
Right.
Okay, I just don't wanna get us in another situation where we deal with that commercial lighting and all of a sudden the homeowners are ready to, string up everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, if we're looking at the kind of the spaces, it does kind of tuck away into a dark corner. I want to make sure that it's plainly and clearly visible from within the project site. That we're not putting certain landscaping back there that's going to obscure views where you could cause problems, that kind of thing. Even to the effect where there is one parking spot that's located in front of it, maybe even consider, since you are over parked for the project, potentially removing that one parking spot just to give a better view corridor.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. And then drainage on this, it looks like everything's going to a basin and then new storm drain line out to Xenia, then to the south. Is that connecting into existing facilities?
It is. So on site, that storm drain will be all private, and
Yeah.
then it'll transition into a public facility at the right of way. And then it goes all the way down to 6 and ties into an existing 30-inch line.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Cooley?
No.
Just to editorialize, I'm glad to see a multifamily project here. I think it's something that we do have a deficiency of, especially on market rate. I think as this community has had a lot of young families move in, and as those families age, it's nice to have somewhere that, our kids can potentially move into as kind of a single family starter multifamily project. So, I'm glad to see the multifamily and the investment that we have in the city.
Be careful about old people now.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other requests to speak on this item?
Yes, 2.
Okay.
First speaker is Mr. Cabrera.
Thank you. My name is Romero Cabrera. I live at 1523 East 8th Street, which is a home that is north of the project. I'm the spokesperson for the 13 properties that run east and west on 8th Street. Some of those homes are rentals, and so I've contacted the homeowners that own it, and we have had meetings between ourselves and individuals, and I can say that 100% of the homeowners are in favor of this project. I bought my house in 1985, and in 1986, City Manager Bob Bounds came and knocking on my door. This is before Sundance. This is in the old days, when there was cows and horses, and it was beautiful. But progress came knocking at our door. And Mr. Bounds, this is when we were with the Riverside County. We weren't with the city yet. And City Manager Bob Bounds asked me to be the advocate to annex to the city. And in 1986, Bob Bounds, God have him in heaven, he's a good man. He said, we will provide you with sewer service. Because the expenditure, and we spoke of this, with the expenditure to get sewer to those 13 properties is gonna cost you some long green. And so 40 years later, almost 40, 37 years later, here we are. And I'm the spokesperson. Other people can come up here and speak, but I meet with everybody. Some of the homeowners, of course, they live in Orange County and so I speak with them and they're all in favor, all of us are in favor of this project. And we have spoken with planning engineer Jeff Hart on this matter. And we have brought out all the schematics, how we're gonna provide sewer service. There are some challenges on the sewer service because of the elevation. Going to Xenia will not provide sewer service to all 13 properties, but we have a plan. And we're persistent on this plan, and we hope that this plan comes to an end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Dr. Paul.
Thank you and good evening. I did provide public comment for the reason of the homes and the sewering of those homes. There are some elevation challenges with I think the 3 on the east side. And with talks with the developer and others, that property has 2, at least 1, but maybe 2, I think there's sewer connections on the the southeast corner. It might be a stub out from those homes that sit and face Allegheny. Might be a storm drain though, don't know. But there's a manhole cover there, and I think there's one on the east side on the north. And the question has always been, who owns that? Why is it on that property? Originally, that property was one property, as I understand it, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And during 2008 or 9, when the recession happened, it was separated and I think went into bankruptcy. But anyway, my concern would be those homes, those 3 or 4 homes on the east that have elevation challenges. Is it possible to move that sewer that direction towards Allegheny? I don't think I've ever received an answer on that, but I was provided an answer for my public comment on the project that they would be sewered. Now, it didn't say all 13 would be sewered, it just said it would be sewered, and so that's my question to the commission, if that's all, and if there's a way, because I certainly, obviously, my interest is because I'm one of those owners of the 3. And if it is not able to be sewered, what are my options? I remain septic forevermore. There was a time 15 years ago when it was water quality issues with the regional board. That's kind of gone by the wayside, but it's still an issue of septic into the aquifer. So that's my question to the board. Is there maybe a discussion of other things that we could do on those 3 on the east side? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll check with the phone line. Rudy, do we have any callers for this item?
I have no callers on the line.
Thank you.
Okay. No other requests to speak. We'll close the public hearing at 6:29. Any questions for staff?
Yeah.
Please.
Is this a situation where, I keep hearing about this, I keep getting in trouble with the microphone. I keep hearing about the parcels, and I know there's an issue with the sewer, but is it a situation where that we need to require like a lift station or something to pick up these other parcels? I mean, I don't know, I'm just asking a question here.
That's a major investment.
Well, I understand that, but I'm looking at the city engineer right here.
Yeah, so there is sewer on the east side of the project. Unfortunately, it's privately maintained now. It serves the, I don't remember if they're townhomes or condos to the east of the project. So grade-wise, it has been explored if we can extend that sewer line. And I believe that that's what the gentleman was referring to, that sewer stub. It has been explored, extending that sewer main to those 3 or 4 houses there. The issue we're having is how do we transmit the public, how do we make a public sewer go into private sewer and then return to public sewer after that? So that there was a lot of reservations on the city's part to allow that to happen.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how I feel about this product, but I've seen it where there's residential kind of micro lift stations essentially. You know, that's something that the city would entertain, you know, if we're talking about 3 units where, you know, you're grinding at each home and then pumping into where you are able to on site. It's like, I don't know about the fail-safe on it. I'm a little bit torn, and I haven't seen a lot of in-use examples locally.
Yeah, so I think that these 3 or 4 lots should be taken on a case-by-case basis. For one, we're not confident where the existing septic system occurs. So to categorically treat all of those, I think is a tall challenge for the project and for the city at this time.
Okay.
And one question. In a prior discussion about this, there was some concern by the homeowners that the construction of this project would prohibit servicing their septic systems. Has that been addressed? I talked with a couple of the companies that service, and they didn't think there was going to be a problem, but that issue did come up once before. This project isn't going to impact those homes with the sewer system where they can't service their septic systems. Has that been addressed?
If they're being serviced currently from the south, where this project is proposing to occur, they would be illegally accessing their property from the rear, from the south. So by the construction of this project, it's would prevent them from illegally accessing or maintaining their septic system. They still have all the rights to 8th Street to access their septic system.
Thank you, that answers the question.
Wait a minute, it doesn't answer me. You're making comments about illegal systems?
No, illegal access. So if you're,
Okay, I misunderstood, excuse me, I'm sorry. And I'll turn my mic on, it just,
I guess I should clarify though, maybe not illegal. Illegal may not be the right term. They would be trespassing on private property to maintain their system.
yeah, there's not an easement for access.
Yeah.
To the
The
rear
simple
of the
question
properties.
is, there is a way they can access. It will not stop them from being able to access. That was the question I had.
All right. Last question I have for staff, possibly the applicant as well. The entry on 8th, is that intended as a resident entry, full access anytime, or is that more of an emergency access point?
That is full access.
It is full access, okay. Yeah, so again, in that corridor, just because it's kind of a back corner, you know, we'll want to take a look at lighting and, you know, visibility from the street and so on and so forth, so that, you know, just because we're going between or adjacent to the existing home on the other site. You know, kind of think again, the pedestrian level lighting and low shrubs and,
Yes.
all right.
Chairman, I did craft a condition, if you'd like me to read that, and if that's acceptable, we can add that in.
Please.
Prior to the issuance of the landscaping plans, lighting in the outdoor fitness area shall be provided by the applicant and shall not exceed the height of or shall not exceed the height of the wall.
That's consistent with what we talked about. Is that any objection from applicant to those conditions?
don't forget to
There we go. Yeah, we're fine with it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Any other questions for staff and discussion here?
No, I'm good.
I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of plot plan PP 2022-0427, tentative parcel map number 38233, and the environmental study known as Xenia Apartments located on the, near the southeast corner of 8th Street and Xenia Avenue, including the recommendation for the lighting as discussed.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right. Vote, please. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Cooley,
Yes.
Commissioner Tinker,
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. All right. Good luck. We look forward to increasing the availability of housing stock.
Thank you for your interest in our city.
Looking for your project. And thank you for your comment as a homeowner. Thank you.
All right. Moving to item C3, variance permit V 2023-132 for Beaumont Landing lighting standards at 1396 Desert Lawn Drive. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Jillian Fountain, Planning Staff. An application for a variance of lighting standards was submitted to the city on October 10th, 2023, and a public notice was placed in the Press Enterprise on October 10th, 2023, and the property owners within 300 feet were notified of this public hearing. Staff has received written comment from has not received any written comment from the public regarding the proposed project at this time. The municipal code allows for variances to grant relief from zoning provisions because of special circumstances applicable to a property, including size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings. Though there are no exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the subject property. However, 20 feet is a typical height for light standards on property lines, as long as the spillage on the adjacent property is no more than 1 foot candle. The subject property is zoned for community commercial with the general plan designation of general commercial. The approved project consists of 2 retail commercial buildings, including a detached car wash tunnel with total square footage of 9,300 square feet to be constructed in 2 phases. The initial study mitigated negative declaration was prepared for the project in accordance with the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act. The initial study and MMD document was based upon the city's standard checklist and addressed a full range of environmental topics. The proposed project is consistent with the ISMND. The Beaumont Municipal Code states that the Planning Commission is empowered to approve, conditionally approve, or deny the application. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing and approve variance 2023-0132 and direct staff to prepare a notice of determination for the applicant to record with the county clerk. That concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions, I am available, as well as the business owner is in attendance on Zoom, I believe.
All right, thank you. So I'm not quite sure I understand the variant, like 20 foot I get, that's fairly standard, but the 40% of the horizontal distance of the light pole from the property line, what's?
It has been a challenge for several projects. We are currently reviewing our proposals for an RFP to update the zoning code, so
Okay.
this is one of the items on the very long list that I have.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So what are we doing?
so we're going, so it sounds like that there's, this zoning code puts a restriction on the height at something less than 20 feet. So the applicant is asking for relief to put all their lights at 20 foot tall along the property line.
That's correct.
Which property are we talking but
It's Desert Lawn and Oak Valley Parkway on the northeast corner. So this is the Beaumont Landing project that you probably saw a couple years ago. It's a Arco gas station,
the one down in the hole there?
yes, convenience
Okay,
store, car
okay.
wash, yep.
Let me turn my mic. Okay.
So yeah, there's not a lot of sensitive users to spill on from lighting there anyway.
Correct.
I don't think the railroad's gonna care.
No, and there's, the only thing up the road is a RV or a storage lot.
Yep.
And the other thing is the railroad and the coyotes, so I don't think there's gonna be a big issue there.
Is there any questions for staff? Or any
No
other
questions.
For staff? Okay, so we'll open the public hearing then at 6:41. Are there any requests to speak on this item? Or the applicant?
I keep forgetting. Okay. Good evening. My name is Fred Cohen. I'm the architect on the project. We've been working with Carol and the entire staff for past almost since 2018, believe it or not. And this project is almost coming to fruition with dealing with Caltrans and all kinds of stuff. So we are finally ready. There's this one last comment, just like you said, the height restriction for the lights. And it's kind of like they put us between rock and a hard place. Either we have to bring it down and provide additional lighting, then we go over the wattage. That's allowed. If we keep it higher to provide adequate lighting, again, we don't meet the ordinance. So we've had this issue, again, with Carol, with numerous projects. I've done the gas station on Oak Valley, the Chevron gas station. Back in 2000, we did the Arco right down here on the 6th Street. And again, this keeps coming up. So hopefully the ordinance will change and we don't have to come back here again. So, I'm here for any question you might have. Hopefully we can get this approval tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Or the architect,
do.
I should say?
When you first came, we looked at this project, 3-4 years ago.
Yes.
Correct.
Commissioner Stevens was concerned about electric vehicle charging stations.
Yes.
Mr. Tinker, we're not getting your audio.
Oh, okay.
I can hear him though, but
One of the things that one of the commissioners, Commissioner Stevens, was concerned about at that time was electric vehicle charging stations. We couldn't require it then, and I guess I'm just asking now, are you gonna provide these, or is this just?
yeah, actually we are. Luckily, our plan check expired. Not luckily, but unfortunately, our plan check expired that we had to comply with 2022 California Green Building Code. And based on number of parking we do have provide at least, I believe, one electric vehicle is parking. But once you put one of them, it's pretty much dual, it's gonna be 2 parkings.
I guess Stevens gets his way anyway.
It does.
That was my only concern. I know he was very emphatic about the night we had the meeting.
Right.
Several years ago, and he was really wanting to know about electric vehicle charging stations. And now you say you're gonna do it, so that ought to make him happy.
Code requires it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the only other question I have.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any other requests to speak on this item?
Rudy, do we have any callers on the line?
I have a caller on the line.
Okay, go ahead and send them through.
Is the caller there?
Caller, can you hear us?
Yes, hi.
Go right ahead, you're on with the commission.
Great. Thanks for having me. How are you all doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Go right ahead.
Fantastic. You go right ahead. Were there any questions for me?
No, any questions for applicant at this point? No? No, I think we're good.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is for the variance, correct?
Correct.
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate your time reviewing this.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
We'll close the public hearing then at 6:46. Any further discussion? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion. You want to go again?
Okay, make a motion that we request that we approve the variance permit V 2023-0132 for the Beaumont Landing lighting standards at 1396 Desert Lawn Drive in Beaumont.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cooley,
Yes.
Commissioner Tinker? Yes. Chairman Smith?
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
All right, at this point, any planning comments from the planning manager?
I just have a few.
All right,
I tried today, and I don't know if everyone received it. I sent a Dropbox link to all the presentations that were provided at the Cali EPA Fresno conference that Jillian and I went to. If not, I'll let me know, and I'll send it in an email from my city email. I was disappointed to see that they didn't put the PowerPoint in on the how to train your planning commissioner, because that's where they had the resources. But I know one of the panelists, so I'm going to reach out to him and see if he can provide me with those resources, because I everything helps.
well, I got the email, but they flagged it as suspicious. So.
Oh, okay. There's probably like 40 PowerPoint presentations in there, so whatever interests you, it just was a lot of information, and I like to share that.
Okay.
Again, a reminder, the Planning Commissioners Academy is coming up on March 6th through 8th in Long Beach, and I believe that they're going to open registration in November. And so we may be reaching out to you when we're trying to set up the accommodations. So yes, I think I have all three of you down.
What's this for?
The Planning Commissioners Academy? Or,
I don't think I.
okay,
We'll talk after.
okay. I did want to note that the management analyst, Daniel Diaz, who works for community development, we went to Fresno last week for CalEd Introduction to Economic Development Training, and we both successfully passed the training. So I will have PowerPoint presentations on that. I'll share, just if anything's of interest to you. It did touch a little bit on planning in some areas. And then some upcoming events in the next few weeks. We do have the city's trunk or treat on Halloween from 5 to 8 at the Beaumont Sports Park. And then we will have the Veterans Day Parade and Ceremony at 10 a.m. at 10th and Beaumont Avenue. The November 8th Planning Commission meeting has been canceled due to a lack of items. However, we may have a potential special meeting on November 15th. So we'll want to check with you on your availability. And at the next council meeting, I believe, actually the first meeting in November, the council will be considering applications to fill the vacancy on the Planning Commission. For upcoming items, we have, again, we may have Beaumont Point on the 15th and potentially a sign program if that goes. Otherwise, those will be happening on December 13th, and we may be bringing the downtown revitalization plan back. Otherwise, we don't have any projects tentatively scheduled until January. And then on City Council, there's only been one meeting since we last met. So some items of note is the final approval of the parcel map for the Beaumont Marketplace that came before the Planning Commission. That was finalized at the last City Council meeting. We did take forward a auto for hire permit to the City Council for a pet taxi service, and that was approved. And the general plan land use designation map update,
Well, a pet taxi
head
service?
taxi. So Jillian
You said
was-
it, they're like, okay, wait, what?
So it's interesting, actually, Jillian could kind of give you a little briefing on it.
So she works with people that aren't able to get their dogs to vet appointments or
Okay.
groomers. So she goes and picks up
Okay.
the dogs for them, takes them to the dog park, kind of.
Okay,
It's just for the animals.
dog walker on wheels.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I think primarily she serves like seniors.
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, the general plan update did go forward to city council, and they did agree with your recommendation and directed staff to start 2 specific plan amendments. So we have those cases created and have sent emails to the NAHC, which is the Native American Heritage Commission, so we can start the SB 18 and AB 52 process. And then the sign code did move forward at the last meeting as well with no changes at that hearing. And that is all for city council. And that's all I have.
Right, thank you so much. Okay,
I'm turning my button on. You know, with all the recent legislation that's been signed by whomever, I realize that's gonna affect how we make some decisions. And I'm just wondering if maybe we shouldn't have a study session sometime on the latest state laws to help us understand the changes, you know, with zoning and ADUs and stuff like that, so that we don't get caught blindsided.
Yep.
And it's just my thoughts.
Right, so we do have a lobbyist and a firm on contract that provides the deputy city manager and city manager's office with updates on potential and new legislation. There is a report that is sent out. I will talk with the deputy city manager about seeing if we can include the planning commission on that.
Okay, thank you.
and Cal Cities is pretty good too, if you sign up for their newsletters of, you know, kind of detailing out and advocating and making aware of what some of the changes are.
Well, I try to follow it, but sometimes, you know, you look at this one at 85, 80, 27, I mean, you just, you don't know who's going where, who shot John, who kissed Mary on the whole deal, and I wonder, where are we at, you know? And I worry about how it affects us. You know, I was just reading an article where, you know, the city of Coronado just acquiesced and said, okay, we'll rezone for this. Well, how does that affect us? How does that affect our housing element? Are we in line with our housing element? I mean, to be honest with you, I think we're pretty good, but I don't wanna see a newspaper article that says, State Attorney General Bonta is gonna sue the city of Beaumont because we're not playing nice.
We actually have quite a few projects in that are low-income, multifamily. We have a project in right now. We have a pre-app on another one. And then we have some small apartment projects. So there is a need for multifamily in all income levels in the city. So we are complying with the housing element, and these projects are going to bring us closer to meeting our RENA.
Good, thank you, I just was curious about that. I'm not turning it on. They can't hear me, they can't hear me.
All right, anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, if they can't hear me, they can't. That was just my concern is, you know, there's so many lawsuits running. California's going crazy with lawsuits. I just wanna make sure, cause I know we worked hard on the housing element, you know, plan to make.
Look into installing seat vibrators or shockers into these so that Nicole can make sure we turn the mics on.
Hey, we can't even get them name tags.
Just not the kind you like.
All right, well, with that, we will adjourn the meeting then at 6:55. Thank you.
All right.
I'm gonna get shockers installed up there so I can tell y'all to